Hey everybody, good afternoon. Oh, Calvin's pumped up. Yeah, here we go. We're ready to start the stream today. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the trivia before the show. And as a reminder, it would be great if you could submit some trivia questions here. Bit.ly/submit trivia. Been a few of you have done that, but it's mostly just me adding trivia questions, and I would like to get a little more variety outside of the sort of computer science nerdiness that I keep adding. So feel free to do that. Submit trivia here. Uh, it'll be great, and you'll be featured. It'll be submitted by so and so right there on the pre-show trivia. And speaking of trivia, I have some more news on that today because I love trivia. But let's get on with the show. This is number 85. Welcome to my office. This is right here in my office here, my basement office, which is kind of under construction right now a little bit. Not really. The room next door to my office is under construction, but they've pushed everything into this room. So we're doing a little bit of remodeling over there. So I'm feeling a little cramped. Although this is a really big office, so it's not so bad. But today I'm going to be working on some integration test stuff. I've been trying to get around to this for a while, and I think I've got a path to do this. And integration tests themselves are not super difficult to write. Well, I shouldn't say that. Actually, writing the integration test to me isn't the hard part. To me, the hard part is making them work out there on your CI/CD server pipeline. That's the challenging part. That's what I'm going to work on today. But we're going to spend some time on what an integration test is. And people have all kinds of opinions about how tests should work and how they how they shouldn't work, things like that. So there's some opinion area here. We're going to get into an integration test, what I think it means, and then have some ideas about how it should work. Okay, and if you have questions, please ask away. This is a safe place to ask questions. No matter how introductory, beginnery you think they are, feel free to ask them here because I think any questions you ask are going to be interesting to me, and I'd love to talk about stuff that's interesting and compelling for you. What is an integration test, Matthew? Yeah, we'll get to that, Calvin. I'm a member of Team Live Coders, and I will bring up a little browser here to show the team page. Here they are, Lana Lux, always at the top of the leaderboard, always doing cool game dev stuff. A lot of people on here today. It's Thursday afternoon seems to be the busy time for people. Whenever I stream, between Tuesday and Thursday, seems to be Thursday is the busiest time. But 168 team members. You can go here, check it out, twitch.tv/team/livecoders. And let's just make sure that this bot still works. It doesn't fall asleep. There we go. You can go to that link there. Find someone who's streaming right now. You can find other people who are not streaming right now but will be streaming later, and you can look into what they stream about. Great stuff here. And I'm going to go to this livecoders.dev website. You can see a list of members of the team here, and you can filter by, I don't know, name, I guess. So there's me. And you can also filter by, there's Calvin. Can you filter by tags? Doesn't look like it. But you can go and get some more information about all the team members and what they stream about and all the different social links and so on. And you can go to livecoders.dev is the website. We'll come back to that in a second. You can also check out the awesome developers streaming list. This is a GitHub repo, which has a list of developers who live stream, who live code. And it's not necessarily just the Live Coders team, or not necessarily just Twitch. It's a much broader world of people who do some live coding and do cool technical stuff on live streams. You can find episodes of this Office Hours broadcasts on YouTube. If you go to bit.ly/GrovesTube, you'll see all the episodes there. And so you can skip forward at 2x speed, skip around, leave comments, questions, subscribe, like, all that kind of good stuff there. So definitely want to check that out. Oh, as a new reward. So if you look down at your Buckazoids reward there, right under the chat box, there's a new reward, and it is called Play Around with Trivia. So you got 1,000 Buckazoids, and you can, we'll stop everything, and we'll play around with trivia, just like I did before the show. But I'll do it live with you here. I'll sort of narrate it as well. Sean, did you already mention the Central Ohio user group? I hear there are amazing presentations there. I haven't mentioned that. I usually don't mention that in my spiel, but you can go check that out at conduct.org. and I think it will be here on my stream. Uh,
Lord Helmet, what? You're needed on the bridge, sir. Knock on my door. Knock next time. Yes, sir. Did you see anything? No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again. Good.
it's Coral R in the house. What's going on, Coral? I haven't seen you in chat in a while. Yeah, but hopefully some integration tests today. Hey, CLW, hey, just dropping in to say hi. Well, hello to you, CLW. Everybody, make sure to follow fellow team member CLW, if I can type it correctly. There you go. Make sure to give Corey a follow there. Got some great streams, good stuff. Always a fun one to go to. Haven't rated you in a while. Maybe our time just haven't matched up, but I feel like I used to raid you on a regular basis. We're gonna make that happen again. Next time I see CLW, I will give you a raid. Okay, yeah, schedules and changing. That's cool. That's cool. You've been busy acclimatizing to remote work, but glad to have you up again. I thought you worked remotely already, Coral. I didn't realize it was a new thing for you. But that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, remote work is great. I've been doing it for just about a decade, and I'm a huge fan. So, yeah, I love it. So I don't. The only acclimatization, I guess, that I have is not really work related. Although I guess in a sense because I haven't been able to travel as much, which has pros and cons. But yeah, otherwise I've been working from home for a while. New as of the pandemic and recently made permanent. Oh, that's very cool. That's good news. There's lots. One of the positive things, if you could say that about the whole pandemic, is that companies have been kind of forced into adopting remote work, which, I'd rather it not be that way, but whatever. But not only have they been forced into it, but they've also been seeing the value now and starting to embrace it. Not all companies are like that. Some of them are like, well, we can't wait to get back to our office and make everybody commute in the morning. I just saw a tweet about this yesterday from some big wig owner of a company about how he's old fashioned and he wishes he'd rather that we all come into the office in the morning. But I think, unfortunately, I didn't want it to be forced like this, but fortunately, people are seeing that, hey, remote work can be effective, and we're saving all these costs, and maybe productivity is actually going up, and employees are, a tough time to measure employee happiness, but maybe employees are a little happier about this. So, yeah, it's kind of a really faint silver lining in this really dark cloud of a pandemic. But yeah, if you want me to drop everything and play a quick round of trivia, I can do that here. So you just got to redeem the space bucks. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if I put enough space bucks on there or not. I don't want this to be abused. So I've actually limited it as well to like 5 times a stream, something like that. So we'll see how it goes. Just an airplane come by. Laravel from J.R. Lawhorn. So this is something that I've been working on a little bit this week, kind of off the stream to see if I can get it to work on my computer. And ran into some issues today. Found some solutions. So working with JR and other people who are and Brant Burnett, who I may have mentioned before. Oh, Laravel, never done it. CLW, Laravel is a PHP framework, and it's just kind of equivalent to like ASP.NET MVC, or Cake PHP. It's a web programming framework. It's pretty cool. It's pretty slick the way it works, and I have played with it a little bit on the stream here in the past. I'm a PHP guy from way back, so I'm excited about diving into some Laravel. Specifically, this Laravel Couchbase extension that J.R. Lawhorn has been forked and has started working on for his own purposes. You've never done it? My good friend Spabby uses it on his streams. Spabby, that's a cool name. Yeah, Laravel's cool stuff. I don't see myself becoming a full-time PHP dev, but it's something that I definitely appreciate and want to get back to and dig into the PHP community a little more if I can. Upcoming events. This is a big one here, so you all got to go check this out. June 20th. That's this Saturday. That's 2 days from now. You need to go and check out the Live Coders Conference. It'll be here on Twitch. It'll be on the Live Coders channel, I believe. Yeah, right there. And you see all these great speakers that are going to be there, and all kinds of great interaction, and sponsors doing some cool stuff, videos and content, all kinds of great stuff going on. at Live Code Conference. So Manning's a sponsor. Couchbase down here is a sponsor, which I'm really excited about. And lots of great stuff there going on with the Live Coders Conference. It was huge, 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 huge last time. So definitely want to check it out. Get in on this action. Going from 7 in the morning with the pre-party, which, I don't know if I'm going to get up that early on a Saturday for a party, but we'll see. Because there's some cool stuff going on for that. And then going until 5:30 p.m. Eastern
Surely
time.
you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Hey, Surly Dev, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Did you you signed up to join after I saw you need to install Zoom? Are you anti-Zoom? Or you just don't want to install software? Concerns about Zoom security? Or just kind of like, can't be bothered to install it? Because, I don't know, Zoom has somehow become like the de facto these days. I mean, I heard that the Zoom software was being naughty. Naughty Zoom software. Naughty. Tracking stuff it shouldn't. Oh, that may be the case. Absolutely possible. I know there was some security concerns about Zoom bombing and things. I think they've addressed those features. But, yeah, tracking, I don't know that kind of stuff. We were using Zoom here at Couchbase, like internally and with customers for a while, even before, Zoom kind of exploded because of all the people working from home. So I just got gotten used to it. Okay. So yeah, some great sessions here. Definitely want to check out this conference. Goes from 7 a.m. Eastern to later than 5:30 p.m. Eastern. I don't know if there's anything after that on the schedule, but it should be good stuff. It went okay. Had to rush through it a bit. Next week at Condog, I'll have more time and should be more thorough. Most of the bugs have been fixed with Zoom. Yeah, so Condog, I mean, we're pretty loose with the time. Like, our first virtual session was like the full 2 hours. The next one was shorter than that, which was cool. And then the last one was somewhere in the middle. So yeah, we're all over the place in terms of time. But for those who stayed to the end, we still have some fun prizes to give away, which is one of my favorite things to do is give away prizes, give away swag. I have some more Couchbase swag to give away and things like that. So you definitely want to check that out. That's Condog. That is a week from today. Is that right? Yes, a week from today. Right here on this stream, I believe. And I think even if you go and sign up, go to condog.org, sign up there at meetup.com. I think even maybe Calvin or somebody is going to host like a pre-stream like hangout. So we're going to have like everybody's cameras are going to be up. This is not going to be on Twitch, by the way, but everyone's cameras are going to be up and have conversations with each other and face to face, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, it's Calvin. All right, cool. So we'll see how that goes. And then we'll transition into the presentation of Twitch and then we'll see where it goes from there. Good stuff. All right, what else? Manning, who's also a sponsor, by the way, of the Live Coders Conference. Right down here, you can see Manning Publications. They are sponsoring Live Coders, but they're also having their own conference event on Twitch, and that will be the 30th. So 10 days after this. Their first one will be around Kubernetes. This will be Kubernetes-related content. If you're interested in Kubernetes or microservices type of stuff, you want to check that conference out. It's totally free. Check out the link there. I will be presenting at that one, actually. Just had a meeting today with Manning to go through some of the the planning details and stuff for that. So that should be fun. I'll be presenting there with some other great Manning authors presenting as well. What? Calvin with the gift? You got an emote thanks to Coding with Calvin's gift. Okay? I guess. I don't know what that means, but I got an emote. And thank you, Calvin, for sharing that sub with Sean. And there you go. So you're a sub now, Sean. You're a subscriber. Calvin's really just very generous with those gift subs. I think I still need to use my free sub for this month somewhere. I don't know if I've done that yet or not. I never keep track of those things. All right, so today I did want to mention that Tuesday I started upgrading from my chatbot anyway, from using .NET SDK 2 to .NET SDK 3, and I've discussed some of the issues I was running into, and I think they're going to be hammered out, but they're not going to be officially hammered out until the next like minor release of SDK. So right now we're on 3.0.1, 3.0.2 will be the release of all the bits. That just a really minor thing that I need to refactor it the way I want to. But I mean, the code right now is available on GitHub. So I've just been using the actual, just pulling the code and building it myself to work on this code. So it's in progress, and it's actually on my repo right now in a branch. So if you want to check that out, you can. But I did want to look at integration tests, because one of the things I'm doing is I'm changing the library that I'm using to interact with the database from version 2 to version 3. And I don't know, I can't know for certain whether what I'm doing is correct or is going to work, because I don't have any integration tests. That's not true. I actually added a couple since the last stream, but I didn't have any to start with. So I had unit tests, but those were mocking out Couchbase, or they're mocking out Twitch. So that gets to the question of the episode today: is what is an integration test? So I would love to see your comments in the chat, what you think an integration test is. Maybe you could sum it up in a sentence or something, and I'll just give you sort of my thoughts on an integration test. And what I actually do is I want to write a little bit of code that interacts with Couchbase. I want to write an integration test for it, and then I want to I'm going to run the integration test. Hopefully it'll pass. Well, it will pass. And then I'm going to try and deploy that to GitHub Actions and get the integration test to run there. And so in my estimation, that's going to be the hardest part for me. That's the area that I'm not super good at, is those kinds of networking and CI/CD setup type of things. So if anyone has any experience with GitHub Actions, please stick around. You can help me go through that. So Surly Dev says, testing the integration of things. Wow, that's a tremendous definition, Surly Dev. Very, very helpful. Now, in your case, test that your code successfully saves your stuff into Couchbase. So you've gone from extremely general to extremely specific with your definitions. I think the actual definition is kind of right in the middle there. So an integration test, as opposed to a unit test, in my opinion, a unit test tests one piece of code or one piece of logic in isolation of everything else that surrounds it. So let me bring up some code here. I'll bring up my chat project. Why not? Let me demonstrate some examples here. So just a given piece of software. Let's assume we're not in microservices right now. Just a single service. It has lots of different pieces to it. So it has the UI piece. It has the UI logic. It has model binding logic. It has business logic. It has a database, data access logic. It has integration with other services like HTTP requests or Twitch requests and so on. Right. So if we look at, like, let's just say a MVC controller here. And here's the home controller. This is really simple. And this is actually the page that shows all the widgets and stuff on the screen, like the little social networking badges that show up at the top there, and sound effects and things like that. Okay? But just to load this page, ASP.NET will take a route from the browser, and will go to this controller, and it'll eventually go to this action here. And then this action will then say, okay, I'm going to send a request through Mediator, and here's the request. It's a get homepage info request. And then Mediator will, if I go to that handler, Mediator will then say, okay, well, I need a bucket, a Couchbase bucket. So I'm going to get that bucket. I'm going to get a document from the bucket, and I'm going to map that to an object and return that, which is then ASP.NET eventually gets it and then renders it to an HTML page and returns it. So that's the whole system basically through one request. A unit test would say, okay, I just want to test this method right here, just this one piece. And I don't want to test any of the other trappings outside of this code. I just want to make sure the logic in this piece of code is sound. So we notice that this piece of code actually interacts with a database. So like Surly was saying, This is going to retrieve things from Couchbase. It's going to get a bucket, get a collection, get a document from that collection. And that code there all has to have an actual Couchbase server running to work. Well, we don't necessarily care about that for a unit test. We just care about the actual logic in here. And the only logic I really have is, okay, does the document exist? Then return it. Otherwise, return a blank object. That's the only logic there. So that's two different tests. We want to test that if the document exists, it returns it correctly. If the document doesn't exist, it returns a blank object. And so we basically, and you've seen this, we do this, we're going to mock out or fake out or stub out or whatever the database part. So we don't actually need to hit a real database to test this code. So we're just testing this one unit, as opposed to an integration test. And the word integration there means different pieces of software or different concerns. They kind of have to use, they depend on each other. They integrate. And so they come together. So this code right here, we'll use the database to actually perform its real full function. So if I want to test this handler to see that it in fact gets the data that I expect from Couchbase, I have to put some data into Couchbase first, run this code, and then make sure whatever's returned matches what is in the database. So now I have two different parts that I have to test that are working together. I have this C# handler code here, and I have the Couchbase server running. And so in order to do that full integration test, I have to have both those things running at the same time. So that is a lot more than one sentence. I'm sure there's some good one-sentence definitions out there of an integration test. And there's other kinds of tests as well, and this is kind of where the arguments come into play. Well, is it really an integration test, or is it a functional test, or is it a user test, or is it a whatever other kind of tests there are out there? But for my money, when you start to leave the bounds of a specific unit and go into other processes, then you're talking about integration testing. Now, what I don't plan to do is like a complete functional test, going all the way from HTTP request down to database. That would be, in my mind, that's more of like a functional test. That's like an end-to-end test. I may do those eventually, but I'm not going to do those right now. I just want to make sure that as I upgrade from a database library version 2 to database library version 3, that I have the ability, that I have some confidence in my upgrade by running these integration tests and making sure they work. So, I have converted over most of this project, I think. There may be a few things that I've not finished yet. Where am I? Request handlers? No, I'm in tests. Tests. That's what I'm looking. Yes, so you can see here I've got, where's my core tests? Okay, so see these tests right here? The ones that are included in the project that don't have the little dotted outline icon next to them, those are tests I've actually converted over to use the .NET Couchbase.NET SDK 3 version 3, and the tests and the code that under test have been converted. So those three last tests there I haven't converted yet. I haven't had time to convert them yet. And you can see I've also started to write some integration tests. So just two integration tests so far. And the thing with integration tests, and I think this is usually the case with a lot of the books and a lot of the guidelines and things, but I tend to agree with this, is that with unit tests, you want to get as much coverage as possible. And by coverage, I mean you want to test every little nook and cranny of the code and your logic. Whereas an integration test, you don't necessarily need to do that same level of coverage. If you want to, if you think it's necessary, I'm not saying you're wrong, but an integration test for me just lets me know that the database logic and the data access logic and the different pieces are working together for the most part how I expect them to. And I'm not trying to test every individual bit of logic, whereas a unit test would cover that. So as long as I have good unit test coverage, I don't need to have full integration test coverage. So if you need more explanation about coverage, I'm happy to talk about that. But I think that's the general idea there. Now, because this is kind of a work in progress, and because I'm not using a NuGet package here, I'm just using some bits off of GitHub for Couchbase because it's not been released. I don't want to try and tackle this project with integration testing right now. What I want to do is I want to create just a really, really simple project from scratch. And so I'm going to create a class library. And I'm going to call this integration test practice. This is going to be a really, really simple class library that interacts with Couchbase, and a just like one integration test to go with it. So that way, it's the simplest possible thing I could deploy, and then I will try and deploy this out to GitHub Actions and see how it works. So let's do it. I'm going to there's the actual class. I'm going to create a new project for testing. So this will probably just be another class library. Well, there's NUnit test project. Oh, I guess I could use it. Have I used that before? I don't know. So I'm going to call this integration test practice.tests. Okay, I don't know if this is just add a NuGet for me already. I guess so. Okay, so there I've got my class. I'm going to call this, I don't know, data access. Yeah, fine. Data access. So this is just going to have, I don't know, one get widget name, and I'll just say string widget ID. Okay, and this is going to get a name of a widget from a document, right? So we're going to have to have a cluster. Probably would be the easiest way to do this. So to do that, I need to have a Couchbase dependency here. So I'm going to go and add Couchbase Net Client. Okay, and notice it's 3.0.1. The fix I'm waiting for my chatbot would be 3.0.2. It's already, the fix has already been made. I don't know what to call it, fix. It's not a bug. It's an enhancement. It's been made. It's just a matter of waiting for that release to come out, because there's other things that are in the release that need to get added to. Cluster equals cluster, and there's a regular release cadence for .NET for all the SDKs for Couchbase. I think it's like once a month release cadence when necessary. Okay, so we've got the widget. I want to get the widget name. Let's make this an asynchronous, because everything in Couchbase SDK 3 is asynchronous these days. Asynchronous is pretty much the way of the world now with .NET, more or less. If you're working with databases or HTTP, you know, that's pretty much the way it goes. All right, so I'm going to get a widget name, so I can, what I'll do is I'll say, I'm blanking, okay, I need a bucket equals cluster dot, you know, in fact, probably would make sense if this was a bucket, not a cluster. Okay, so I'm going to say buckets dot what am I doing? Not even a bucket. Collection. Collection. Okay. Okay, so then I just need to result equals collection dot get. Well, it's not iCollection. Gosh, Couchbase collection. Holy cats! I just did all this like yesterday and Tuesday. I can't remember. Okay, so we're going to get async, and it's going to be the widget ID. That's going to be the result, and we're going to return result content. Right? No, this needs to be await. I still haven't gotten used to the async and await thing. I've been writing it so much, and I still haven't gotten used to it. Content as, and we'll just call this widget. In fact, let's change this from get widget name to get widget. And I'll create a widget class. And of course, the widget has a name. And that's probably good enough for now. Return content as widget. Okay. So I've got this really simple. You think of this like a really simple repository, I guess, to interact with data. And the next thing I'll do is I'll create a test. Data access tests. So here is my integration test. And one of the things I want to do before I forget is check Twitter. Get distracted by that really quickly. Okay. I don't remember how to do this, but I use a live coding in Visual Studio, or with not live coding, live testing. And I want to exclude unit tests. And here we go. This is how we do it. So if you don't know what this means, you can just ignore it. But basically, Visual Studio will run unit tests for you automatically, put little green check marks next to your test, which is great, except that, why is it not working? Because I can't spell test fixture. It's great, except that I don't want it to run integration tests constantly in the background, because integration tests, by their nature, dealing with multiple processes, might be the simplest way to express this, tend to be a lot slower than a unit test, because they got to wait on a database, or they got to wait on a HTTP access, or a network, or a file system, or something, or a stream, or something like that. And so they're going to take longer. It's going to be a drain on resources. I don't want them to be running constantly in the background. Unit tests aren't. If they're well written, they're just really, really quick. They're super fast. So those are okay to run those over and over. Okay. So setup. Now with Couchbase, what I want to do is I want to get a cluster object. So cluster, probably need to include that here. Couchbase here as well. So the same library in the test project. I'm going to be in await cluster dot connect async. Now, what I need is a connection string, username, password. That's what I need to connect to Couchbase. So for connection string, I'm going to say environment dot get environment variable, Couchbase connection string. And I'm going to fall back to localhost if it can't find that. And we'll explore this in a second here. Do the same thing for username, Couchbase username. And it's going to be administrator. And same for password. Which is going to be password. Okay, this needs to be async as well, because I'm using await down here. Yep, that's good. Okay. So what I'm setting this up to do is I need to, at some point in my GitHub Actions, I need to pass in this information, because I'm going to want GitHub Actions to spin up a Couchbase server for me, just temporarily, but I need it to spin it up for me. So that way I need to pass in the information to get Couchbase up and running from outside the process. So one way to do that is with environment variables. I can set environment variables in my GitHub action, and then this test will read those as it runs. I've also got it defaulting back to my local machines settings, because I want to try these out on my local machine before I actually deploy them to GitHub. So I need a cluster, I need a bucket. This is also an await, I think. Cluster.get cluster buckets async, yes. So bucket name is another thing that I need. This isn't super important to need to be passed in, but may as well. Bucket name, let's call it tests. All right. And then what I really need is a collection is going to be actually passed into the test. So bucket.default collection is what we're going to use for now. I covered the collection stuff on Tuesday. I'm not going to cover that anymore unless you have questions, of course. I can certainly talk about that. Now what I want to test is that, oh, here we go. Surly, I need to integrate some dinner with a metal dish and some aluminum foil and run to my mum's with some dinner. Integrate it with her knife and fork for her to eat. Okay. Well, sounds good, Surly. You're going to prepare some dinner for your mum? That's very nice. What are you actually preparing? I'll be back in a bit, so you can tell me when you get back. All right. So what I want to test here is I'm actually getting a document out. So in order for this test to work, I need to have a document in there first. Right? So my test is going to be does data access retrieve the documents. Okay. So our setup is going to be a little more complicated here. Not setup. Arrange, act, and assert. So arrange, I first need to get the data access. And the way to properly design this would be to do it up here. So new data access. Is it called data access? Yes. Collection. And it hasn't, I've added this as a reference, so I'll just do that now. And mince stuffed peppers. See my last Insta post. I do not go on Instagram. It's just not a thing for me. I tried it for a while. I posted like drawings that I did on Instagram, but I just never clicked with Instagram. But perhaps I will check out your minced stuffed peppers if I could find your Insta. I don't know what it is. Can I get to it from your account? Surly Dev. I don't see anything here. Through a link. So if you want to post that Insta, we'll take a look at your stuffed peppers. Okay, so arrange. So the first thing we need to do is actually put a document in the database that can be retrieved. I'm going to do this without using the data access because there's no way to do that with data access. So I'm just sort of making an end run around. I'm going behind the scenes and putting some data into Couchbase first. I can do this with collection, which, by the way, this should be a task as well. Async task. This may seem like a little bit... yeah, I noticed there, Shirley. I looked at that the other day. I forgot. I'm still on the Wikipedia page for notable people in Grove City. Oh, boy. That's crazy. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a collection. I'm going to insert a document. So I need an ID and I need a new, and it was called a, what did I call it? A widget. Widget with a name of Matt's widget, and I'll just put a GUID in there. This is where my practice of putting GUIDs in names really kind of comes from, is to give each piece of data some sort of unique characteristic. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a lot of sort of junk data floating around out there that all looks the same. And that can really screw up your tests. And it can screw up your debugging of tests. So then I'll create an ID of, I don't know, this is widget, : and I'll give this a GUID as well. Okay. So this is going to put a document in the database that can be retrieved. And then my act will be to actually exercise that and say doc is dal.getWidget, and I'll give it the ID there. And then my assertion will be really simple one. Assert that oh, you know what? I should probably let's get expected widget. Let's call it that. And we'll just take this out and put it up here, and then replace that here. Expected widget. So we can say that we'll call this one, instead of doc, we'll call it actual widget. Actual widget. Actual widget dot name. Hello, what's going on here? Oh, this needs to be in a wait. Actual widget dot name is equal to expected widget dot name. Okay, so if those names match, then that test passes. Okay, now let's make sure I do have Couchbase running here locally. This test should pass. I don't see why, unless I've you know, can't type like I just demonstrated that I can't. Okay. I forgot one other thing I wanted to do. So one of the things with Couchbase is that when I create Couchbase, when I spin it up in GitHub, and I don't know, I may revisit this, but what I wanted to do is actually create the bucket if it needs to be created. So we're going to do a try here. And a lot of this stuff, by the way, I would eventually refactor into like a base class or something. So I don't want to have to repeat this code for every single test. But for our purposes, I just want to get up and running with GitHub Actions. So what I want to say is cluster.buckets.create buckets. And this is async, so we'll do a wait here. And bucket settings. So a new bucket settings. And I can create all the good stuff I want in the bucket here. So we'll give it the name of bucket name. And I will give it a bucket type of Couchbase is fine. And we'll give it a, we'll enable flush. I don't know if I'm going to use flush, but we'll enable it anyway. And RAM quota, just a small one of 100 megabytes should be fine. And then if there's a catch, well, so if this fails, it's because the bucket already exists. So it's going to throw an exception, which is fine. We'll just assume the bucket already exists. Okay. And the other thing I want to do, which this may not be super important, again, for this simple test, but let's try this anyway. We're going to need cluster dot, is it cluster? Okay, so once that bucket is created, now we can actually get the buckets. Bucket dot, is it bucket or is it cluster? Bucket dot, Hey, AJ 2017, what's going on? Good to see you. Is it collection? Or what is it? Cluster dot. Let me scroll up a little bit here. What I'm trying to do is create an index, which would be fine for testing, just a primary index, which is totally fine when we're dealing with small amounts of data. Well, hopefully small amounts of data with our unit or our integration tests. I can't remember how to create an index from .NET. Cluster dot buckets dot. There's like a manager or something. Cluster dot query indexes. There we go. Create primary index and then on bucket name, which I already defined up there. And I'll put that inside of here because I only need to do that when I'm creating a new bucket. So if I'm running this the first time, it'll create a bucket, create an index. If I'm running it the second time, it will try to create a bucket. There isn't one. Throw an exception, swallow the exception basically, and keep going. Get the bucket object, get a collection, get data access. I don't think we're going to use this yet, but I do want to just have it in there just in case because some of the integration tests I'm going to write will need this index. Okay, let's run it. See what happens. See if it breaks. So it's definitely going to be slower than a regular unit test, but there we go. It passes. And if I go over here to, you can see this test bucket now exists and it has the one document in it. This reminds me of something else. And opinions on this vary and ways to do it vary. But what I also want to have is, and this is something I should have anyway, is a tear down function. So this is normally something you don't need to do with the unit test, is actually have some code to clean up after yourself because, in this case, I've changed state in the database. So one thing I should probably do anyway is dispose the actual cluster. Get rid of that connection so we don't have any dangling connections of there, something that's not garbage collected or not disposed of properly. Another thing I'd like to do is I mean, I mentioned before I could. You got to think of this in the context of there's more than one test when eventually be running, right? Not just the one here. Is that after each test, I want any data that I've put in there, I want to get rid of it because it could interfere with other tests, right? So this goes back to making sure your tests are as self-contained as possible. So what I could do is I could say, I could use that flush command to do a bucket flush, which removes everything from the bucket, right? Flush. But a flush is kind of a slow process to do that. What I would prefer to do is just individually delete the documents that I've created. So one way I could do this, and I don't know if this is the best way, if there's a better way, I'm open to hearing it, but I'm going to create a list of keys, basically. Documents to delete, and I'm just going to make this a new list of string. And so this is a little bit of an annoying extra step, but in my arrangement, I need to say, okay, I want to add this ID as a document to delete. And then in my teardown, I can say for each key in documents to delete, I'm going to actually go ahead and collection collection.remove with that key. So I can get rid of these braces. So any document that I put in here gets added to this list. I've sort of flagged it in my test, and then remove it. Calvin, are you going against a database you care about and want to keep, or are you cycling the database between runs? So that's a good question. So I guess what I'd like to do in my GitHub action is it's going to create a database probably via Docker container, and so I don't really care about the data is in there, right? This is not a production database. It's purely a database that's going to exist for unit tests. So why track and delete? Why track and delete is because if I have multiple tests, right, then I don't want that data interfere with other tests. So if I didn't track and delete, then I'd have to be careful about how am I creating data. Is this data going to interfere with other tests? And I may not know that. Unless I'm missing something, Calvin. I know we've worked on tests like this a lot in the past. And I think what we did, which was kind of a bit of a hack, I think, but what we did in our last position that we both worked together in was we would basically have tests. They would run all inside of a giant transaction, which had problems of its own because of, well, I discussed this in my NDC Oslo talk, but because of the isolation level, the data is not actually committed. So if you're trying to go through a test and see why it doesn't work, you can't actually see the test unless you go and change the isolation level of your SQL query, which is a pain in the neck. Is there anything like a transaction in Couchbase? Yes, there is, only in Java right now. I would consider doing that once they're in .NET. I'd consider doing that for this, but my concerns there are that this kind of the same concerns I had with the last, the project I was just talking about is it would be more difficult to debug, to figure out when data's in process when it's in the middle of a transaction, right? And I'd also be concerned about timeouts and things like that. If my unit test or my integration test takes longer than the timeout on my transaction, then that could leave some remnants behind. So I don't know. I'm not in love with this approach, but I'm going to do it for now. It's not super important for this kind of practice run, but that's kind of my thought process right now. Is I want to avoid completely flushing because it's slow, and I also want to avoid putting it in a transaction, even though I can't put it in a transaction, but I'm thinking about avoiding that anyway. And this is kind of the middle ground. And I've got some ideas for this, Calvin. So I could potentially create like a wrapper method. What about database checkpoints? Oh, like a backup and restore sort of thing? Is that what you're getting at? Yeah, I don't know about database checkpoints. Kinda, yeah. I mean, it's probably something like that with DCP, but that's going to be way more complicated to implement that. Entity Adam, what's going on, Entity Adam? How are you? I mean, these are good questions, Calvin. These are absolutely good questions. But this is the approach I'm going to take for now, and I'm certainly welcome to revisit this. One other thing I was thinking about was, see where I'm setting up this test document that I'm going to eventually delete? I could just create like a wrapper method, and it would automatically put the document inside of this documents to delete collection. So I don't have to do this every single time. I can just call, oh yeah, create test document, set up test document, and then it'll automatically be added to a list, tracking list, and automatically deleted at the end of the teardown. Because eventually this teardown and most of this setup is going to go into a base class, which I can reuse between every integration test. But again, I'm just trying to get a spike going here to make sure the hard parts coming up, the GitHub Actions, is going to behave how I expect. Okay, so let's go back to here. I'm going to just delete this document. Yeah, I'll just delete the whole bucket. And I'm going to run this test again. I have no integration tests on any product at the new gig. Got to figure it all out myself eventually. So I'm going to run those tests in the background. You're going to see the test bucket get created here in the UI. There it is. So it takes a little bit of a time to do that the first time, but hopefully it'll only be the first time. You saw a document went in there, a document is no longer in there, and the test passed. So that's exactly what I wanted to see. That's at the small scale level, so it's really easy for me to say, yeah, this works great right here. The trick comes when you do this for dozens or 2 dozens or hundreds of tests. How well is that going to work? Okay, so there we go. I've got a integration test running and working locally, but I want it to work on GitHub Actions as well. I want it potentially to, not have to rely on running it locally to work. Entity Adam has a NoSQL unstructured data problem. If I'm open for questions. I am open for questions, Adam. I do want to take a quick break here, a quick restroom break, and I will come right back. We're going to get into Entity Adam's question, so go ahead and post in the chat there, and we're going to get into some GitHub Actions, okay? So I will be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Also got myself a little beverage while I was out. What is the problem, Entity Adam? I can't promise I'll have the solution, but I can promise I'll try. And do my best to give you the guidance or answer that you're looking for. But I'm definitely open to your questions, so ask away. Okay. In the meantime, while you're typing, I'm going to go and create a GitHub repo. So this is, what do I call this? Well, here's the other project I was working on. I was looking for that. What did I call this? Oh, integration test practice. Okay. Create repo here. Yep. Fine. And then I'm going to copy over my git ignore. Yeah, right there. Oh, here's the question. I'm making a trivia app. Oh, cool, because I have a trivia app that I use for this here stream. I'm trying to figure out how to store user-generated questions, which I also do with my trivia app. I accept right here. If you go to submit trivia, you can get user-generated questions. They are stored in Couchbase, by the way, NoSQL database. Think a data structure simple as a to-do item, but how do you store that in a system designed for massive scale? What in the world would be a decent partition key for something like that? Or does it simply go back to, well, how are the users going to query your data? So you mentioned partition key. That seems to indicate a specific NoSQL technology you're using, because not everyone uses a partition key. For instance, with Couchbase, partitioning, sharding is done automatically. You don't have to define a partition key. And it's great for massive scale. Yeah, so partition key is something I don't know too much about because I haven't had to do it with Couchbase. Cosmos DB has partition keys. I think, like with Mongo, I don't think they call it partition key, but you have to set up some sort of sharding definition. But yeah, you should go check out my submit trivia page there because I'm pretty much doing exactly that into the atom. Not at massive scale, at least not yet. Hopefully, people will start to submit questions and it'll become massive scale. But yeah, partition key. I mean, it does go back to how are the users going to query your data, right? So in my case, I'm just getting 10 questions at random from the whole pool of all the trivia questions. So I don't have, it's probably, the query I'm using is not real great for like really, really big scale because I am selecting almost every question in the database and ordering them randomly. There are some things I could do to improve the index, but it's good enough for right now. That is a tough question, right? So, I mean, I can tell you how Couchbase does the auto sharding and how great it is, but that doesn't really help you when you're trying to use Cosmos, right? So, a partition key. Let's see. You know, something I don't really have a lot of knowledge about, but we can. I assume you're using Cosmos. I mean, if you're not, you're trying to use a table API. So, is that the Cosmos table API? The goal is to have the user be able to build a Jeopardy-like board. Oh, okay. Jeopardy. So they're going to pick different questions or different categories, I guess. I don't know. They're going to build their own categories. Because it seems to me like Cosmos Table API and Azure Storage Table use the same API. Right. Okay. So yeah, Cosmos has multiple APIs. One of them is the Table API, which is kind of their key value API, right? If I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. And yes, key value. So in that case, I don't, I mean, can you query from a table API by something other than key? Because I would say in that case, there's not really an issue about partitioning. It's all about if you have to know the key ahead of time, right? Or can you get a list of items? I don't know. I've not really used the table API either. Yes, you can point query and range. You can point query and range query. Okay, so range query. Interesting. So I don't know. Partition key, Cosmos, partition key, table API, range query. So let's see if we can find some docs about that. Get partition key ranges. Okay, I think so. This is kind of reminds me of the Couchbase like MapReduce kind of API, I think. So how do you define a range query? Hey, Surly Dev, welcome back. That was quick. So I take it that your mom lives near you, or perhaps in the same house as you. If you had to cook and deliver a meal, that's impressive. If you had to, leave the house and drive somewhere. She lived 200 yards around the corner. Okay. Well, there you go. That's very impressive. Still impressive. Let's see. Partition key ranges. It was already cooked when I said I was leaving. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, yeah. Still pretty impressive. Yeah, I can't. I don't know if I can provide you much guidance here. Partition keys, as I understand them, it's just kind of a way to spread out the load of your data, right? So you don't have to query all the data. You just have to query, narrow in on one specific partition. I think that's, if I'm understanding it, that's how it works, which is kind of the way like a Cassandra column family or table works. If I'm not mistaken, each table has its own like kind of partition, acts as a partition key. Let me take a quick look at your project. Maybe I can get a better question. Well, I'm not using Cosmos in my project, so I don't know if it's really going to help you. But you're welcome to. If you go current project, it'll take you right to my Twitch bot there, and you can see the trivia part of it, which is here on the core. So request handlers, and under trivia, you'll see that this is a query I use to get a page of trivia questions. Well, no, that's not really what you want. So what I do is I get random questions. So this gets 10 random questions for each trivia round. So I'll just show you how the trivia works here. If you weren't around for the beginning of the show, this is like a little slideshow it generates, right? So I'll just go to the next one, and it's picked 10 questions already. Selecting a number of random questions is one of the problems I was thinking of, so this would help. Again, if you're using Cosmos, if you're studying using Cosmos, this isn't really going to help you that much, I don't think, because I'm just writing a SQL query here. I'm using the Couchbase as a document database, so this will be similar to Cosmos's SQL API, right? But yeah, I just say, give me a trivia question, and make sure it's approved, and order it by random, and give me the first, whatever. In my case, 10. So it's a real simple SQL query. And I think you can do this. I don't know if Cosmos SQL has a random. I don't know if it has a limit either. Those would be the two things that you'd need to do it this way. The problem with my query here, and the reason why it could be improved, is I'm saying t.star. I don't necessarily need to do t.star. I don't think. Yeah, because that's going to select like approved, and it's going to select type, and I don't need those because I already know what those are. So I could create a better covering index that just says, okay, index the question name, index the answers, or index the options, index the answer, and I can just spell those out individually. And I could create an index that covers that, and that would be a lot more performant. So yeah, I don't know if that really helps very much, but yeah, that sounds like a tricky one, because partitioning them would be like, there's nothing really to naturally separate a huge pool of trivia questions unless you want to put them in categories. You could partition by categories potentially, or partition them by the users who've created them, like if there's a username associated with every question. Those would be natural ways to partition them out, I think. I guess the way Couchbase works, it's not really a problem I have to worry about, right? Very cool. I'm not married to Cosmos DB. The underlying tech doesn't matter as much as the concept of I've done with relational database. Let's try something new. Okay. Well, that's cool. Relational databases, don't throw them in the garbage. There's still good use cases for them, right? But yeah, that's pretty cool. I would wish I could help you more with the partition question. The thing with Couchbase, and I can't really show this in the UI because it's just kind of behind the scenes, right? But yeah, it's tough to show behind the scenes stuff like this. But each bucket is divided into 1,024 what are called V buckets, right? Or shards. And then based on the key, the document key, it goes through a hashing algorithm. And the hashing algorithm determines, okay, which of those shards, which of those vbuckets is the document going to live in. So then every single bucket is divided into 1,024 parts. And so right now I just have the one server. So this one server has all 1,024 parts of the test bucket. But if I add a second server, now each of them has 512. And if I had 4, each has 256. P.S. We need speakers at Raleigh's TriNug, and we're doing virtual. Hey, I would be happy to speak at the TriNug if you're interested. Any of these topics here. And I have a couple new ones as well. It's not listed here. One about ACID, I think. ACID and NoSQL. What's a TriNug? It is the Research Triangle .NET user group in North Carolina, right? Triangle user group? It is Research Triangle, right? I don't think I've ever been to TriNug, but I have been to, oh shoot, Raleigh Tech Fest? I used to have a t-shirt. One of my favorite t-shirts had like the old Windows Phone like tile system on it. Raleigh Code Camp. I think I've been there. Yes. And I got a t-shirt, and it was like TriNug was mentioned on the t-shirt. So I said TriNug on the front of the shirt. I don't know what happened to that shirt. Raleigh Code Camp. But I was down there once, a long time ago, it feels like. 2012, maybe? 2014? Something like that. When was Windows Phone really big? I probably outgrew it. How dare you, Calvin? Jeez, I've been putting on a few pounds in the pandemic, sure. But, you know, I think it actually got like a hole in the arm or something. A lot of my shirts get holes like right around here. Hey, Brocco668, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it, Brocco. Thanks for hanging out with us. But that was a really comfy shirt, and it looked pretty cool, and it had like the Windows tiles with different like sponsors and you know, the user group organizers, things like that. So I've not been to the TriNug user group, but I have been to the Raleigh Code Camp, and there may have been another one in the area that I've been to as well. And I usually go to All Things Open every year, which is in Raleigh. All Things Open. I don't think it's going to be in person this year, unfortunately. This is a great conference in that same area, I think. This isn't it. What is this? Allthingsopen.org. Why can't I get... Allthingsopen.org. Good gravy. There we go. Yes, it looks like it's going to be a virtual event this year. And this is a fun one. I think it is, and it's not going to say on the page right now because it's not in-person event anymore. Yeah, Raleigh. Okay, I was right. I've been to this one 3 or 4 years in a row now, something like that. My shirt's starting to sparkle because the lighting has changed down here. That's okay. Anyway, where was I? So sorry I couldn't help you more there, Entity Adam. You know, I can certainly, if it's... I've not used Cosmos. I've used Cosmos a little tiny bit, just like a Hello World sort of thing. Partition keys is not something I've dived in on, but I'll tell you what. Someone who can help you, I think. Oh shoot, who am I thinking of? It's a cloud advocate with Microsoft. He used to be Cloud Advocate. I think he changed to Program Manager or something. Oh, crying out loud. I can't remember his name. I'm completely blanking. Starting to rain here, too. That explains the lighting change. I want to say it starts with an A. Why am I so bad at this? Oh, boy. Anyway, I've seen him present on Cosmos multiple times, and I cannot remember for the life of me his name. You know, I'm going to remember tonight when I'm recording this podcast with Calvin, because I'm sure his name's on one of those blog posts. Jeremy Lickness. Jeremy Lickness. I think that might be a good place for you to start. He's a great guy, very helpful. He knows a lot. I know he knows a lot more about Couchbase than I do. That might be some place you can start. Right. Okay. So he's not an advocate anymore. He's a senior PM for .NET Data. So I think a lot of that includes Cosmos. So that would be a great person for you to approach. I don't think he streams on Twitch. I could be wrong. He's doing EF Core stuff these days. Well, EF Core has a Cosmos provider, so if he can help you, I'm sure he can put you in touch with someone who can. That's where I would start if I had a Cosmos DB question. I'd go find if I couldn't find it in the docs, I'd go to Jeremy and say, "Hey, what do you think about this partition key issue?" Alrighty. I think it's time to get some Git going. So I got to commit this. So here's my just initial commit of the of the two projects, the solution. All right, really simple. Okay, and now I'm going to go out to GitHub. I'm going to create a new repo. I'm going to call it Integration Test Practice. So you all can see this if you want to. Practicing integration tests with GitHub Actions. Make it public. Why not? Add a license. No, I'm not going to do any of that stuff. I already have a git ignore. Okay, and then here is the repo. And we'll say git tortoise git, and we'll say settings, remote URL, and I like to call mine GitHub. Sure, why not? There is nothing to fetch, but go ahead. Okay, and then I'll do a little push keys out to GitHub. And there we go. Okay, so now my code should be available there, right on GitHub. Fine. Okay. Actions. What I want to do is I already have an action for MatDoc here. No, not MatDoc. Gosh. I'm going to copy this over to integration test practice. Okay, workflows. I'm going to rename this to, I don't know, just call it tests. Run tests. Let's just add that here. Why not? Edit here in Visual Studio. Existing item. GitHub, workflows, run tests. There it is. Okay. So I don't need to do anything like build and publish. Nothing like that. And it's not called this anymore. It's called integration test practice. Okay. I guess I need to run that. That's fine. And then we're going to run tests, integration test practice dot tests. Okay. Wow, that rain's really coming. Okay, so we're going to call this integration tests. Now, I'm over here looking at a different web page. Oh, I lost it. Can you all hear that rain? Good gravy. It's coming down. It's good. My grass needed some water. Looking a little brown. GitHub Actions documentation. Okay, GitHub Actions. Sun is shining up here. LOL. Calvin's on the pretty much the opposite side of the greater Columbus metropolitan area than I am. So if you pick 2 points in the area where we live, like I would be, I guess, like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and Calvin would be like 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, something like that. All right. So GitHub Actions. Now, first thing I want to find out about, because I kind of got into GitHub Actions, I jumped right in and started doing it from github.com. But I want to actually look at some of the actual documentation. I want to read some documentation for a change. The first thing I'm interested in is environment variables. Here we go. Okay. So steps, name, and a workflow file. Okay. So for here, I want to specify some environment variables for the actual test that I'm running. So something like this. And I'm writing YAML again. You know, I love me some YAML. So these are going to correspond to these right here. So Couchbase connection string. Is this how I specify them? Yes. So I don't know. This is going to be something, but we'll say, I don't know. It's not going to be this, right? But put a placeholder in there. Couchbase username. These are probably going to end up being secrets. Not super important because this database is ephemeral. It's going to go away after each run. I don't really care. And then Couchbase bucket name, tests. Okay. So hopefully I'm doing this right. This is going to set these environment variables for this process to run. The run comes before environment in this. I don't know if that makes a difference, but I'll put it up there anyway. Just read this to make sure. Let's see. GitHub sets the environment variables for each GitHub Actions workflow run. You can also set custom environment variables in your workflow file. GitHub Actions available with GitHub Free. Okay, yeah. Every step in a workflow run. Okay. To set custom environment variables, you need to specify the variables in the workflow file. You can define environment variables for a step, job, or entire workflow. So I don't know if I need them for the entire workflow. Although I might eventually. But we can even just hard code them for now. Because I understand how to use placeholders and stuff already. Okay, to set custom environment variables, you need to specify the variables in a workflow file. Okay, yeah. Did that. You can also use a set environment workflow command to set an environment variable that following steps in a workflow can use. I don't do that. Oh, default environment variables. Interesting. GitHub run number, GitHub actions. Oh, this is cool. All this stuff. All right, naming conventions for environment variables. GitHub reserves the GitHub underscore prefix. Fine. Any new environment variables you set should have an underscore path suffix. Point to a location on the file system. Okay, yeah, none of these are pointing to a file system. Okay, that's good. All right, so what I need is then the next thing, which is using databases and service containers. So there's an example of Redis and PostgreSQL. So Redis probably pretty close to what I need. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so Redis container example, it's got jobs, steps, options. I remember reading this earlier. Running jobs directly on the runner machine. It was the whole idea of service containers. This is what I think I want. Yes, okay, so I have a job. It's called build. I'm not going to call this build. I'm going to call this integration tests. Because it is, I mean, I guess build is part of it, but it's really for integration testing. Runs on Ubuntu latest. Container. Whoop. Can I split these? There we go. Container. I didn't specify container. Docker hub image that container job executes on. I don't really care about that. That seems to be fine. The default or whatever is fine. And then services. Service containers to run with container job. Okay. So maybe services. And then I'm going to call this, no, not tab. It's 2 spaces. Let's call it CB. CB? CB. How about CBDB? CBDB. Okay. And then Docker Hub image. So I'm going to specify a Docker Hub image. Which one do I want? I want to pin it to a specific version. Just call it Couchbase lol. I want to make sure that it's different than Couchbase because I don't want to be bitten by any sort of magic strings. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Docker Hub is where I want to go. I want to pin this to a specific image. Because if I just say the latest one, then that could break my tests in the future. So I want to pin this to a specific image. can never remember the tags. Okay, I'm going to pin it to community 6.5.1. Image, Couchbase. Whoa. What is this? Oh, I just type it, I guess. Community 6.5.1, which is what I'm running locally, I think. Yeah, 6.5.1. Okay. All right, and then I can also specify ports. And then I hate YAML. I hate it. Which port numbers do I want? I think I only need a handful. 8091 to 8091 is most important. Okay, so that's the syntax for that. And then I'll just do 8092. This is, again, just kind of for safety. I don't know if I need all these ports. How do you complete the setup on the container? That's something I'm going to have to figure out, Calvin. And this, actually, that's a good question, because I might want to use a different container, not just a stock Couchbase container, but Brant Burnett has created something called Couchbase Fake-It containers, which I believe I can configure using environment variables. It's for testing and local developments. This is just like, it's like a custom Docker image for Couchbase. And so you can use Couchbase Fake-It to create your own Docker file. And then you can specify environment variables. So I could just specify, oh, I want my password to be such and such. Hart Brant. Yeah, Brant is terrific. Brant actually helped me with something completely behind the scenes. But I mentioned this earlier with Laravel. I was having a problem getting it to run on my machine. And I'm going to sing his praises anyway. I haven't got this completely tested yet. But I was like, hey, Brant, I'm getting these errors. Trying to run Docker Compose locally. And I just thought maybe you could take a look at the exception. Maybe something jumped out at you. And he pretty much came back and said, oh, yeah, I know exactly what the problem is. Boom, boom, boom. And he submitted a pull request. Love Brant. Love Brant. He's the best. I can't praise Brant enough. He's been so great since day one for me at Couchbase. Love it. He's also the creator, basically, of the Link to Couchbase project. And he's done a lot of work with Couchbase extensions and the Couchbase.NET SDK. So when it comes to Couchbase and .NET, think Brant first, because he's the one doing the real good stuff. I think our Couchbase team, like Jeff Morris, as well, because he's doing a lot of the work, a lot of the .NET work, of course. And then think me, like at the very last. Hey, what's going on there, Chad? Tail Learn Code. Got your own emote going? Cool. I'll put a little Calvin emote there. Bada bing, bada boom. Good to see you here. I can kind of read that little thing. I think it's saying hello. It's a little hello. A little red hello. Thanks for stopping in Taylor and Code. I'll shout out to Taylor and Code. While we're here, I'll be appearing on Taylor and Code's stream at some point in the next couple weeks, I think, in preparation for Codepalooza. So I'm getting a little distracted here, but that's okay. Codepalooza is another cool event coming up. You want to check this out. Get yourself a ticket. Sign up for it if you haven't already. It's not going to be at the Hyatt Regency, as far as I know. I think they're still going to use the facility, but like people aren't going to go there, and it's not that kind of. It's not going to be an in-person conference. It's a virtual conference. But definitely want to check that out. Hey, thank you for gifting Taylor and Code a sub there, Calvin. Appreciates that. Do you just give a sub out to whoever I shout out? Is that how this works? Very much. Thank you very much, Calvin. But yeah, you definitely want to check this out. This has always been one of my easily, top 5 conferences. For sure, Codepalooza. Usually takes place in Louisville, Kentucky. It'll be a virtual this year. But I only need to know that somebody's there and engaged. Well, I really appreciate that, Calvin. So yeah, Codepalooza, check it out. A great conference. Sign up for it. Follow Taylor Code to learn more about it and how it's going to work. And it's doing some really cool stuff to make it, it's always a special event in person, and it's virtual events. It's a lot more challenging to kind of simulate that conference experience. But Taylor & Co. is doing some really cool stuff to make that happen. So you definitely want to check that out. So here's what I'm wondering, Calvin. If I use Couchbase Fake It, or anyone else who's listening, doesn't have to be just Calvin. If I use Couchbase Fake It here as my image, and we'll just put latest here, although I don't think, again, I don't want to pin it to latest. Can I specify environment variables at the service level, like I can down here with each individual step? So if that's the case, then I can specify username, password. Really, that's all I need. I can also specify buckets JSON. I don't need to do that because I am creating buckets with my .NET code. That's what he's doing there in his Docker file. Well, okay. I'm just wondering. There's no example of it here in the GitHub documentation of using environment variables. But I don't see why it wouldn't be the case to basically do this, what I'm doing down here, except with the image. So why don't I just try it, I guess. So I want to say CB username, and I'm hard coding it. Again, these are probably going to become secrets, GitHub secrets, or I can just define variables up here. They're nothing really secret about them, right? They're just going to be throwaway. Password, and the other stuff, yeah. Data RAM service. Default's 512. That's fine. Index RAM. That's fine. Search. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I don't use these yet, but I can specify which services I want. Calvin's got a link. I'm sure he found the environment variable thing. Postgres example has environment. Okay, beautiful. Index storage. CB services. Yeah, the default is, again, it's fine. For testing purposes, I only really need KV, nickel, and index. I don't need FTS, but I might use FTS in the future, so may as well go with the default. I feel like I'm missing something, but I don't think so. Postgres example has environments. Let's see what we got here. Postgres, image. Don't know if order matters, but I'll put environment there in image. Yep, that makes sense. Environment, password. Okay, cool. Thank you, Calvin. So I want to go and I'm going to look at Docker Hub because, again, I don't want to pin this to the latest version. So I may as well check out the tags while I'm here. He doesn't have a 6.5.1. Yeah, it looks like it's only enterprise too. So that's okay. I can live with that. But I might need to go and make some pull requests of my own to this repo. So I'll just use latest for now. Okay, so then what I need to do here is I just need to say Couchbase CBDB. See, these names are matching up here. I think that's all I need. And then username, password, they match. Bucket name, this is just going in. This is just being passed into this test project. And the test project itself will create the bucket, like I demonstrated earlier in the stream. Is that it? Is that all I need? That seems really, really simple. Seems like there's more to it than that. Let me just look at this Couchbase Fake It documentation here, just to make sure. The Docker image designed for testing and local development starts up a single standalone Couchbase server instance within a Docker container and initializes it with buckets, indexes, and fake data. I don't need the fake data, although I might eventually, right? This can be very useful in reducing developer friction, providing a way to quickly, easily spin up a Couchbase server, pre-initialize for your application. by including a Docker file, which I'm not going to do. I'm just going to use the straight up Docker hub. Create your own Docker file. Yep, I want to do that. I don't need to do this config either. Don't need to generate data. Don't need to create views. Don't need to create indexes. I'm going to do that stuff in my unit, in my integration tests. I may want to move some of it to this in the future, because this is some cool stuff that he's done. But this is more for like local development purposes, and I'm kind of using it for integration test purposes, which I don't know if he does the same sort of thing or not. Well, I think let's try it, I guess. I don't know. Let's see what happens. What happened? What changed in the solution file? Oh, yeah. Okay. Adding a GitHub action to try integration testing. If this works, I will be very, very happy. This works on a first try. Let's see. Okay, so now I jump over here to GitHub/mgroves. Any kind of build pipeline has to fail 30 times before you get a working version. Well, if if my track record is any evidence of that, you're absolutely right. Integration test practice. Okay, actions. Okay, it's running. Let's see what happens. Initialize containers. So there's the Couchbase stuff. It's happening. That's about my experience. Yeah, okay. Someone out there is like, why are you guys failing at your CI so often? I get to work on the first time every time. But no, in our experience, as developers, like this is my experience. This is always painful and always like fragile and a lot of trial and error. But I gotta say, my experience with GitHub Actions so far has been very much positive. It's very, very cool. So it seems like it initialized the container just fine. Look, there's all the fake it stuff. Oh no, what happened? Something failed here. This step failed. The checkout. Your whole stream today is all about testing. As far as I can tell, there is no way to test pipelines without actually invoking them. Yeah, that's something I've seen is kind of weird, Calvin, is like there is a unofficial project to run GitHub Actions locally. But I don't know of a way to, I mean, it's unofficial, right? And I tried it a while ago. It didn't really, wasn't working for Windows. But it would be nice if there's a way to do this locally. So wouldn't have to just commit. Okay, what happened here? What didn't it like? It didn't like the checkout. What part of this failed? Something in here failed. Okay. The process user bin get failed. Fetching the repo failed? What? How is that possible? With ref release? Oh, wait. Is that the problem there? What is that ref? Yeah, that might be... Get rid of that. This might be a remnant of... I just copied and pasted this file. And I have a release branch. So maybe I just don't even need that. That could be it right there. And actually, I think I can edit this directly on... I don't have to go through the whole process of pushing it. I can just go here and edit this. I got a little nifty little UI and everything. I don't need that. All right, let's try it again. Remove stray ref to release branch. Yes. Okay, there we go. Let's try it again. What's up? Are we doing? Are we going? Here we go. All right, initializing containers. It's actually doing that pretty quickly. Doing a faster download than I would do locally, so that's good. Yeah, that's great. Oh, there's all the... Okay, so look at that. You can see the actual Docker command. It's running. That's pretty cool. Oh, the checkout ran. Okay. Hold on to your hats. This might actually work. Installing dependencies. Moment of truth will be the test. What? What? Did it work? Until the whole thing is green, I believe nothing. Did it work? Did it actually work? It'd be nice if it showed a list of the tests so I could confirm. Holy cow. I think that's it. Tell you what, I've been drinking a lot today. They're really just running through me. It's a detail you all didn't want. And the sun's come out again, so now the lighting is all off again. I can't believe this worked. Is that it? It's kind of strange. It doesn't say how many tests it ran, passed, etc. Yeah, like if I ran this locally, like that, I'm just kind of suspicious here. If I go to, yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, is that how .NET Test works? I'm just going to run this command locally. Project file does not exist. Well, what? Yeah, it does. Do I need to specify extension? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'd expect this kind of output to be on there, but yeah, let's see. That's got a lot more in it. Yeah, I agree. But this seems like it ran, but it said build succeeded. Do I need to specify CS proj, you think? I think I'll give that a try. Test. Maybe the pathing is wrong. So build the solution but didn't find any tests. Pathing is wrong. Let's see. You could be right, Calvin. Let's see. Test. Let me look at my other project because it has a similar path structure. TwitchBot does. And this runs tests on pull requests. Yeah, .NET Test. So it would say project file does not exist. What if I do this without the CS proj? Run at the root level. Okay. Okay. So that's why. Okay. So I don't need the CS proj in there because it can just tell by looking at the. Yeah, you can see. It's just going into that folder, I guess. It's testing that folder, and it's running the tests. And you see total tests passed 1. So it's just, I don't know, it's just like, leave that. It's just not as verbose, I guess. But I have the same verbosity specified. Then it's the exact same command. Well, yeah, it's the exact same command. but it's just not outputting all that noise here. I could maybe look at this log archive. Maybe it has some information there. Let's check it out. Integration tests. Yeah, okay. Where's .NET test? Integration test. Yeah, this is the same thing I just saw. What is this? Okay, what's in here? Setup job test. Huh. Well, there's one other way to do this. Kind of a lame way. You might need to turn on verbose. Well, so I've got verbosity normal, and I've got verbosity normal here. Are you saying turn on verbose here in action somehow? I don't want to get into that too far because there might be some sensitive data there. Well, let's explore that. But here's something I want to try. This is a lame way to do it, probably, but not too familiar with GitHub traction. Not too familiar with GitHub Actions. Assert that true is equal to false. Failing test. Okay, so if I run this here locally, failing test. Okay, this is completely a repo I'm going to throw away. So it's okay if I check in terrible code like this. Darn it! I got to commit first. Failing test. What did I change here? Oh yeah, revert that. Commit that. Fine. Then I got to pull because I made a change directly on GitHub, and then push. So I've got a failing test. So if I go in here and this time it fails, then I'll know that this is running the tests, right? Would that be it's not the ideal way to validate this, but wouldn't that in fact solve my question, answer my question? All right, while this is running, I'm going to go to the bathroom again. Right back. Womp womp. The test still passed. Oh boy. So it's not really running it how to expect it to, right? Yeah, failing test is there. The action's running it. So if it were truly running those tests, this would have failed. So something isn't right there. So I run this locally. I just did this, right? Yeah. One pass, one fail, which is what I'd expect. It's not doing that. Earn GitHub actions. Why is that? Post job cleanup. Yeah, whatever. Stop containers. That's cool. Something with the NUnit runner. It could be. What does this no restore mean? Like, I think what you're getting at, Calvin, is that if it doesn't see that there's tests there, it's just not going to run any. What does no restore mean on .NET Test? .NET Test. No restore? No dash restore? No restore. You don't have to run .NET Restore because it's run implicitly by all commands that require restore to occur. To disable implicit restore, use the .NET No Restore option. So is it possible that it needs to restore some NUnit libraries and it's not doing that because I've got no restore turned on? Aren't you restoring the solution already anyway? Well, yeah, this restore is happening up here, so it seems like that wouldn't be the problem. But I don't know, worth a try. Is this environment in the right place? I think that's right. I looked at the sample code. But even if the environment was the problem, it would still cause the test to fail. All right, so it seems like the tests aren't getting run. Let me take a look at this one here. Because this one, I'm pretty sure, is running the tests. Maybe it's the same problem. Maybe I've got the same problem going on with my other project. I just didn't realize it until now. It's just ignoring tests. So let's ignore that for now. With maybe it is. Let's look here. Let's go back to this workflow. Edit this because maybe there's something, I don't know, something specific to NUnit. NUnit reporter. No, that's not what I want. Publishing NUnit results. I don't understand because running it locally, I get this much more interesting output with checks and fails and all that kind of stuff. And I'm getting like 0 over here. So Taylor and Code's coming early on. Maybe you need to turn on verbose. I still think it would fail, right? Verbose or not. But let's take a look. What are the different levels of verbosity here? .NET test verbosity. You have the NUnit runner installed explicitly, right? Like, what do you mean by that? I have test adapter. Maybe I do. Maybe that's the difference here. I've got an NUnit runner installed locally, but not one on GitHub Actions. That may be the case. Oh man, this beard is getting long. What's going on, Mini-Wheats? Good to see you. Yeah, it's getting a bit, especially down here, it's getting a bit much. It does need a little trim, I think. Good to see you, Mini-Wheats. Hey, we missed you on Sunday. We started up our adventure game series again, Want Some Rye. And we're hoping that you could join us. We're not playing Sanitarium. We'll get to that eventually, but we're playing Space Quest 5. If you're interested in that, anyone's interested in that. You were in the Chaz all day. Yeah, that's what I thought. I said that to Nathan, but he was mentioning you were in Olympia, which was a fair bit away from Chaz. But I thought I saw you posting about it on the Facebook. So anyway, if you're interested in adventure games, you or anyone else, we got this game series, actually playing games on Twitch. I know, crazy, right? We play adventure games. It's called Want Some Rye. You live in Olympia, but you drove up there to check it out yourself. Okay. Yeah, I guess you still have a vehicle. That's why I said to Nathan, but he was like, no, he's in Olympia. There's no way he was in Chaz. I was like, well, I saw pictures. I didn't know, it's hard to tell with you sometimes if you're being sarcastic when you post stuff like that. And if it was you in the picture, you had a mask on, so I couldn't even tell. So, whatever. Yeah, I know, playing games on Twitch is crazy talk. But if you're interested in adventure games, especially like classic ones, Sierra, LucasArts, and so on, my brother and I are both big fans. And we play them on Twitch. We play them together. We've done Gabriel Knight in the past. We've done... what else have we done? We've done Carandia, was the first one we did, the first Carandia. The best type of humor when you can't tell. I totally agree with that, Mini-Wheats. The driest of all humor. I love it. That is a fun kind of... that is the best kind of funny. When it's so dry or obscure that no one really knows if you're joking or not. I'm with you on that. But yeah, you can find this picture of my brother with his cat. But yeah, we kind of take turns ping pong back and forth between his Twitch channel and my Twitch channel. It doesn't matter; it's all for fun. But if you want to follow this Twitter account, Want Some Rye, and we'll post about when we're going live, things like that. But we're going to try to do it every Sunday evening, when possible. Sunday evening Eastern time, which would be afternoon Pacific time, where he is. But he'll be moving back out to Eastern time here soon, within the next couple months or so, as far as I know. So, there you go. I mean, I wore a shirt with Mao Zedong on the front. I'm sure you can guess if I was screwing around. Are you a big fan of Mao Zedong? I don't know what you're up to, anyway. Honestly, I have no idea. Really. So it is quite funny that you're in here, and I still don't know if you're serious or not. I appreciate it. I appreciate the humor, or lack of it. I don't know. I have no idea. Whatever you're doing, Mini-Wheats, whatever weird performance art you're up to, I am here for it, and I appreciate it. For some reason, I didn't think you were in Olympia. I thought you were out in what's the one? What's the other? The one like the far east part of the state. Oh, crying out loud! Washington State map. And you may have moved around. Obviously, you're allowed to. Spokane. I thought you were in Spokane for some reason. And you moved down to Olympia at some point. Were you in Spokane or somewhere out there? I don't know. I tried to put a GPS tracker on you last time I saw you, but it didn't work. You've always lived in Olympia. Okay. I don't know. I thought I knew someone out there in Spokane, but I guess not. Whatever. Okay. So these tests aren't working. And Calvin suspects, I think he may be onto something, that I have a test runner running on my local machine, but I don't have it on GitHub Actions. So, what do I do about that? GitHub Actions NUnit. Action attributes. How to create GitHub Actions for unit testing in .NET projects. Let's see. Runs on Windows latest. Okay. I don't run on Windows necessarily. .NET Test. Nothing about this is specific to NUnit though. You don't need to include anything in your assembly to run your tests using GitHub Actions. Just create workflow file. So we have .NET Core project. Okay. So seems like I'm okay. Is there any way to run NUnit? This has nothing to do with GitHub Actions. Action attributes. What is this? Action attributes are a feature. This has nothing to do with GitHub Actions either. It's just action attributes on GitHub. Deploying to NuGet manually and using GitHub Actions. Oh gosh. You can't find anything either. How to create GitHub Actions for unit testing. I was just here already, I think. Unless it doesn't work the same way in other images. What do you mean by other images? Do you mean the Ubuntu latest? Is that what we're talking about here? You're using Ubuntu and all those talk about Windows. Yeah, yeah. So why would that make a difference? That would be confusing to me. Like if NUnit works on Windows images but not on Ubuntu? I don't know why that would matter. It seemed like it would be the opposite. Like if I was using Windows, I would assume, oh, switch to Ubuntu and it would work. But I'm not. But I think you're onto something, Calvin. I think you're right about that because that would be an environmental difference. That would make sense. It works on my machine, but not out there on GitHub Actions. How to set up GitHub Actions during unit tests using NUnit. Okay. What we got here? If your unit tests are being run inside the Docker file, all you do is trigger a Docker build from GitHub Actions. Registry, my registry. I'm not running them inside Docker. At least I'm not. I mean, I assume Ubuntu latest is a Docker image. This is all being run inside of Docker. So we got Docker inside of Docker. Because that's what this service is running in Docker. Who knew that the hard part of this would be the unit tests and not the setting up the actual service? It's always the case, right? When you're solving something you think is going to be hard, it turns out it is hard, but for different reasons. I always go into these things assuming that Couchbase would be the hard part, but that turns out to usually be the easy part. What if you take off no restore and pump up the verbosity? All right, let's do it. What's the .NET test verbosity? What are the higher levels of verbosity? Detailed? Detailed. Detailed sounds good. LOL. All right, let's do it. And we're taking off the no restore. All right, we're doing it. We're doing it. I don't know. For some reason, I actually like editing this locally better than editing on the website. Okay, hit commit. Pump up. Here, I'm going to just copy Calvin's message directly into the commit. We're doing it. You up? What? I want to pump. You up? It's an SNL reference for all you younger people out there. All right, running the action. What if you take off no restore? So this might get me kicked off Twitch, but Hans and Franz, we're gonna play them. There they are.
Good evening and welcome to Pumping Up with Hans and Franz, the informative training program for the serious weightlifter.
Hello, let us begin by
Dana Carvey and Kevin Nealon.
I'm Hans.
Classic.
I'm Franz, and we want to pump you up.
No laughs. This is like the first one, and the audience is just like, what is happening? It's a classic sketch, though. Classic. Hear me now and listen to me later. Or what does he say? All right. We got all kinds of stuff here. Oh, look at this. So verbose. I don't know what any of this stuff means. Sure is doing a lot of it. Oh! We got a fail. Let me just skip ahead to where the fail is. Okay, what do we got here? Test execution started. Running all tests. Error message. Null reference exception. Oh, that's not good. So maybe this. Okay. Maybe it was just that no restore. Yes, maybe. But this is not really showing me a test. Total test. Okay, here we go. Total test 2, failed 2. Okay. Maybe it was a no restore. Okay. If that is the case, then it failed connecting to the service. Yes, okay. This is what I actually expected to be the problem. Okay, so what was it? Normal. I'm going to turn back the verbosity to normal because that is a lot of stuff to get through. So why can't it connect to the service? And how do I figure that business out? Let's go back. Where was this? No. Right? Oh, yes. No. Wrong Chrome. Where's my Chrome? Here we go. But, okay, yeah. So the one test should always fail, period. But the other test should not. It is working fine locally, but it can't connect to the service. Right? Because we've got this stack trace. Oh no. The worst possible time. We're getting plooped. Oh. Defend! Everybody defend! Quick! Type bang defend! Help! The octopuses are attacking. Octopi, actually. Oh no, there was no attack. Sorry. Only attack you have is your own copy and paste. What is with these octopi? That's pretty cool. I like those emotes. Thank you for the raid. Where is it? Saint Plays Things. Thank you for the raid, Saint Plays Things. Hope you had a good stream. What was going on in the Saint Plays Things stream besides a bunch of octopi and plooping? Is that the noise an octopus makes? Is ploop? Bloop, bloop, bloop. Thank you for the follow, Pushed-ing, or Pushed-edding. And thank you for the follow, Pasquato. Really, really challenging my elocution with the ploop and the Pasquato and the Push-edding and the Saint Plays Things. Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. He played some COC. What is COC? Command or Conquer? No. What is COC? And learned Python. You're welcome. It was great. Did Python for a good 6 hours. 6 hours of Python. Clash of Code. Ooh, what's Clash of Code? Some Italian for you from Brazil. Pascotto. I have not heard of Clash of Code, I don't think. Clash of Code It's a coding game. It's nice. Codinggame.com. Oh, interesante. Muy interesante. Step up your coding game. The new way to improve your programming skills while having fun and getting noticed. Those are the things I love. Programming, having fun, and getting noticed. Why haven't I think I've heard of this before, but what do you do? We support them all. C# even? Oh, man. Go to multiplayer, Clash of Code. Okay, so this is a game at codinggame.com. You can play Clash of Code. Very interesting. I don't know if this has been announced yet, but Bold Bearded Builder. I'll give him a shout out. Bold Bearded Builder. Bold Bearded Builder. Red leather, yellow leather. He is the host of a late night coding game show, of which I will be. Man, my screen keeps fading. I will be a contestant on at some point in the future. So I don't know if it involves this or some other sort of game. I have queued this one up for later. It's a Mars lander puzzle. So how does this work? As a video, you create puzzles, and I guess you. Oh, okay. It's like live battles. Interesting. I'm going to have to check this out for sure. I'm going to take this tab, I'm going to drag it over here, look at it later. That sounds like fun. Cool. Well, thank you for the raid, everybody. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you for the follow, Ari24, CB24. You all have some hard names to say. Everybody, thank you for hanging out. I'm sorry I can't caught up with the chat. There's so much chat. I appreciate it. Really good raid. I think you successfully attacked. We did not defend well enough. We are now being slowly choked to death by octopi. But thank you all for coming here. I am trying and failing to get some integration tests to run on GitHub Actions. RE24 wasn't available anymore, so I used my old name, CoolBrick24, implemented it. All right, so you're both. You're RE24 and CoolBrick24. All right, that's a lot. I don't really have a leg to stand on because my normal name is M Groves and I can't get that one for Twitch. Someone else is squatting on it. And my old name was Boohiss. That was my old gamer handle, my old IRC name, and that's what it used to be. If I turn off this light, is that what the problem is? No, then my face is dark. Let's see. I'm way over time here on my stream, which is okay. It's fine. Are those environment variables named correctly? We can check. Let me check my my filter here, so I'm not so like glowy. So now I got too bright of a glistening forehead. Something over here. I'll turn this. My O-ring light? No, I don't know what's going on. I have to live with it. My glowing forehead. All right. Are those environment variables named correctly? I think I just copied and pasted them. But let's see. Split. How do I split tabs in Visual Studio? Do you remember? Like this? Okay. Couchbase connection string. Couchbase connection string. Yeah, those match. Couchbase username, Couchbase username, Couchbase password, and bucket name. Yeah, those seem to match. Are underscores valid in the name YAML file? You're asking me about YAML? I don't know. Do you want me to take them out? Worth a try. I mean, if that's the case, then there would be a problem up here too, wouldn't they? I don't think that's going to be the issue. I'm pretty sure underscores are valid YAML names. So anyway, for those of you raiding, if those are still sticking around, I do a lot of coding on this stream. I do play some games every once in a while. We were just talking about adventure games, point-and-click adventure games that I play on kind of a dual stream with my brother called Want Some Rye. But anyway, most of the time I do coding on here. I do a lot of back-end coding, not Python. I do C#, I do SQL, that kind of stuff. Right now I'm just doing integration testing, which is super exciting. It sounds really fancy. No, not really. It sounds kind of boring. But this is what I'm working on right now. This is like kind of the stuff that's not super glamorous. It's not the front end JavaScript, CSS, HTML stuff. It's the back end type stuff. Now, what is this blue bar down here? What is that? Is that my shirt? I don't know what that is. Some weird camera stuff. Anyway, your name is kind of misleading. Saint plays things. Is my VS status bar showing through? Oh. Gosh, it is. Holy cats. All right. I really need to get some lighting figured out. Get someone here who knows what they're doing with lighting. And now look at this. Now I'm fading out. I'm like the Back to the Future Polaroid picture. Ah, I'm fading away. Help me. Weird. So weird. This is a weird channel you've chose to raid, Saint Plays Things. Why did you do this to me? This guy is talking about Back to the Future. He's talking about integration testing. What's his deal? He's sort of fading away. You can't get lighting right. Oh boy, it's a hot mess. Well, now I've got this weird, like, virtual birthmark here. Yeah, it's lighting. It's just like I need makeup. I have this shiny head. Alright, here's what I need to do. There, problem solved. Get my Couchbase hat. My Couchbase hat's kind of transparent. Alright. So why isn't it connecting? What I suspect, I can't prove this, what I suspect is this Couchbase Fake It. It takes some time to warm up. And in the meantime, these tests are also running. It still doesn't look right, so I'm fading away. And they try to run and they fail. They time out quickly while Couchbase is warming up. That is my suspicion. Yeah, wait action. Oh, let's see what we got here. Get up action for sleeping. Sleep for 30 seconds. I don't want. See, that's the worst thing is to create tests that just sleep. But that, I mean, if this works, that might prove it, at least, right? Okay, I'll give it a try. It's not great, but it might prove that it's a time thing. Yeah, exactly. Exactly right, Calvin. Okay. Ooh, Docker. So I don't need to wait until here, right? Sleep for 30 seconds. Heck. And we're just going to wait on this. And 30 seconds should be more than enough time to prove that it's the case. So let's do it. Yeah, Docker is used a lot on this stream. Do it. All right, let's see. I'm going to, again, copy Calvin's message. Do it. Into my GitHub commit message. And we're pushing. We're pushing. I'm eating into my time to prepare for a podcast here, Calvin. So I hope you're well prepared. Because I'll be even less well prepared than normal. Me too? No, you said you're already prepared. You already had notes and stuff. I use Docker when I need to host my own instance of Jacon, my AnimeList.NET API. So I don't have these request cooldowns, 30 requests per minute. Some sort of anime, like anime that you've watched or that you want or you've worked on, something like that. Cool. I am a anime dilettante. I can name some animes that I like, but I am not that much of an anime nerd. Although one that I revisited recently because either Adult Swim has or they will be releasing season 2 of it is Furikuri. A super weird anime that was like 6 episodes released, I don't know, like a decade or two ago. But it's a well-loved anime, and season 2 was being commissioned in conjunction with Adult Swim, implementing my anime list, one of my Discord bots. That's cool. That's a weird one though. If you're new to anime, don't start with Furikuri. Start with something like, I don't know, Inuyasha or Death Note or something. Because Furikuri is super weird. Super weird to watch it as American, I guess. Probably totally normal to watch it as someone who is lives in Japan, understands Japanese culture. But it's like watching an anime, like through Google Translate. That's what it's kind of like. All the cultural references get put through a blender, and it's really weird, but it's very much beloved. Start with Beyond the Boundary and then SAO. See, I don't even know what those are. My anime is like way like early 2000s. Like Full Metal Alchemist is probably my favorite, I guess. Both versions, Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, they're both good. And Conqueror Shambhala, those are my favorites. Pushing, never watched anime, not even once. Not even like not even like Speed Racer or Cowboy Bebop or something. Yeah, there's gotta be something out there you like. All right, did I push already? I'm getting distracted here. Did I push or not? I did push, so it's been running. Where are we? Where am I? Okay, actions. Let's see what happened. Okay, so I've got a fail here again. But fail would be okay, because there is a test that should fail. What is all this? Where to watch it? I mean, lots of places. There's some on Netflix. Crunchyroll is like the big anime service. I've never been a Crunchyroll subscriber, but a lot on there. Adult Swim. So this did sleep for 30 seconds. That's all your package restore nonsense. Yep, you're right about that. Okay. It looks like it's still not getting the host. You're from Germany, so use proxer.me. Converted 202 unit tests. Okay. So I guess this X means it's a failed test, right? So that's the test. And it's still not connecting. And the failed test also fails, which I expect it to. Oh, but okay. Both those tests connect to Couchbase because they're both running setup. Setup runs before each test. So that runs, then test. This runs again, then test. So, yeah. That's whatever. So it's still not finding them. So what am I doing wrong then? Let me go back to this stuff again. This Redis example here. I'm exposing these ports. But it doesn't really show an example of this service being used. Should I look in the PostgreSQL example again? That's one Calvin looked at. So connect to Postgres, run client, environment Postgres. So yeah, it's using that label. Label X used to access service container. So that should work. So I'm specifying a port in this example here. So I suspect this sleep for 30 seconds isn't really doing anything, but I'll leave it in there just in case. Couchbase CBDB. Maybe I don't even need the Couchbase. Like if this is DNS SRV, like maybe I don't even need that. Maybe it's just this. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Let's try it. We're trying it. We're doing it. We're doing it live. This is why I wanted to create a practice repo, because I didn't want all this junking up my chatbot repo. And if this works, then I'll take away that 30-second sleep thing. See if it works without the sleep. All right, let's see. What other animes can I name? Fullmetal Alchemist. I never really liked Inuyasha that much, but it seemed like a pretty accessible show. Let's see. Cowboy Bebop was okay. Death Note. Death Note's a really fun one. I like Death Note. What else? Oh, what's the one? Attack on Titan? That one's pretty wild. A little bit disturbing, but fun. Oh, Big O. I like Big O a little bit. That's pretty good. Haven't seen that one in a long time. Okay, dependencies. You know what I've never seen, actually, that I keep meaning to get around to seeing, I never have, is Akira. I did show one or two of the Studio Ghibli movies to my kids. Spirited Away, I think, was one of them. My daughter really liked it. I wasn't a huge fan, but she really liked it. Hope I'm saying it right. Ghibli? Ghibli? I don't know. All right, moment of truth. How many tests failed? Well, I guess they would all... And probably take out that test that fails on purpose now. Still failing because... null reference exception. Okay, I'm going to take out this failed test. There's no sense inflicting failure on myself for no reason. So it seems like that problem was solved by taking out the whatever it was, the no restore. Resource temporarily unavailable. That NRE is in the teardown. Huh? NRE is in the teardown. Oh, the no reference exception is in the teardown. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That would make sense, because the teardown is, if I'm saying, you know, collection or cluster, documents delete wouldn't be null, would it? No. Okay, so the teardown, that's not where I need to focus. I need to focus on the what? Maybe this is a teardown problem. What have I got wrong in the teardown? Up one line, up one line. Resource temporary unavailable? Is that what the error message is? Resource temporary unavailable. Why would that be? Oh, hey, Ari24, CB24, thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you all coming over in the raid, chatting with us for a while. I'm going to check out that coding, Clash of Code here at some point. Check it out, see how that works. That's cool. But thanks. Thanks for going by. What does resource temporary unavailable mean? Resource temporarily unavailable. Maybe I can just, I don't know, do a quick search for that. It has to be part of the connection to the container. It's got to be. What kind of resource temporary unavailable on socket send command? No, I'm looking for specifically like GitHub Actions maybe, or Docker, I don't know. I don't know. It's a pretty vague error message. Resource temporarily unavailable. That would make sense. What would make sense? Go back to the code. Go back to the code. All right. Line 28 is throwing. Why do you say that? That's not in your catch block. Right. Which doesn't report anything. Oh, the cat, you're saying the... But if I can't connect to the cluster, I can't do anything else. This catch block, I don't understand. Assume the bucket already... Right, which makes me think that the resource is unavailable. You're saying this is failing, and because I'm swallowing it, then the cluster is saying, well, there's no bucket of that name, so it's not available. No, you're saying line 28 is throwing. Where are you seeing line 28 throwing on here? I don't see anywhere. You're just guessing. Okay. So if line 28 is throwing, then that just makes the test fail, straight up. Because it's not in a try. Log 585 says there was an exception. Log 585. Log 585 says there's an exception. Yeah, but this exception is in teardown. 565. Yes, there's an socket exception. So for that to report as an exception, it can't be in your try catch already because that is a no op. So are you saying I well... Oh, okay. Okay, I got what you're saying. You're saying it can't be something in here because I'm basically just swallowing that. And you're saying wrap in another try catch and log out the parameters. Okay. And you're saying do this to see what's actually being passed in, to make sure environment is what you're suspecting here is the environment variables are not being picked up. All right, what's the best way to log this out? I guess I could just throw with I don't know, connection string, username. That would make sense if This isn't picking up the environment variables for some reason. That would make sense. Worth a try. And push. Ah. All right. If this doesn't work, I'm going to have to wrap it up here pretty soon. Already gone pretty far over my normal time box. I got too many Chromes open now. Okay. Well, if it's not picking up the environment variables, then I'm not sure what to do from there. As far as I can tell, I'm passing them incorrectly. I'm passing them correctly. So I guess it would be if .NET is not picking them up for some reason. Maybe I'm using the wrong method here or something. I don't know. Or they're picked up correctly, but it still throws. Yeah, I guess we'll know either way. If it's picking them up, it throws some sort of exception. It has to be connectivity to the container. Yeah, so we're narrowing it down, I guess. But what would be different about connectivity to the container, though? I guess that would be the question. That is the question. Did I not, if I didn't expose correct ports? I'm pretty sure these are the only 5 ports I need. Well, I could be wrong about that. I should double check. All right, here we go. All right, what do we got? So much. Okay, what do we got here? Oh, there we go. System exception. So it is picking up the environment variables. CBDB. That is what I expected to pick up. If it was null or something, then it would be this. Then it has to be connectivity to the container. So it's connectivity. Okay, so we've definitely narrowed that down. Well, that's good. All right, so then what am I doing wrong with the connectivity to the container? CBDB. And you know, it still could be this. I don't know if that's, which one is correct. To get it fully qualified like that, or if CBDB is enough for it to bootstrap, I don't know. So that's still a possibility. But neither seem to work. What else could it be? Let me check port numbers again. Make sure I didn't forget one. Where's Docker? Where's my Docker hub? Docker hub. Couchbase. Okay, and these are the normal port numbers that you need. 8091 through 8094, and then 11210. Did I get those right? These all match up, right? Oh boy. That could be it right there. Holy cow, do you see that? I mapped 8093 to 8094, and I mapped 8094 to 8094. That could absolutely be it. Oh boy, oh boy. Well, I hope that's it. That would be awesome. Okay. Whoopsie on the port number. And then take that off there. The other thing I changed this back to Couchbase : //CBDB. We'll see. That's something else I could try. Definitely could be. It would try to bind two services to the same port, and that's a no-no. I think that's definitely a possibility. The other possibility is that Couchbase is trying to connect. It needs 8093 to connect, maybe, and it's not there. So it's just I'm done. I don't know what to do. Not available or something. So either of those is a possibility. And in any case, it's not good to try to map two things to the same port number. So who knows what was actually happening. All right, let this run. So the other thing, if this doesn't work, it still could be that I'm doing this connection string wrong. I don't know enough about how DNS SRV, or if this is even using DNS SRV. I don't know if I need to fully qualify it or not, so I'll try that too. If this still fails. And if that doesn't work, then I'm calling it a day and getting ready to podcast with Calvin. I'm gonna shift gears. I should probably check my email first. I've been incognito for a couple hours. The rain is heading this way. The rain is heading this way. Well, the rain has stopped here. It's pretty quick. If I get this to work, I'll also try to take off the sleep as well. I hear my daughter practicing piano up there. All right, what we got here? What we got? One failed test still. Same error. Resource temporarily unavailable. Oh, well, let's try it with this then. Let me just check these ports one more time. Okay. Let's try it again. Is that the right format for mapping ports in the Action YAML? Yeah, I think so. We could double check. I think, didn't you send me the example of that? Mapping ports? Oh no, it was here, I think, right? Redis. No, here, service containers. That's where I found it. And yeah, ports. So you say services, service name, image, ports, and then ports is an array. Service, service name, image, ports is an array. This is an array, right? When I have dashes like this. YAML. Yeah. I think that's right. So I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. So the only thing I have left to try is I took off the Couchbase : / on this, which I guess could also cause a problem. So hopefully I got all the ducks in a row now. Yep, see that's the difference there. We'll try it. Okay, where am I? Actions. Let me check. Just check. I don't think. Try localhost 2. Really? Why do you think it would be localhost? When you run a job directly on a runner machine, you'll need to map the ports on the service container to ports on the Docker host. You can access Surface containers from the Docker host using localhost and the Docker host port number. Oh, so you're saying you don't have to use the service name? Because they're all running on the same machine? It still specifies it in the example. Okay, let's see what you got here. Directly on our machine, you need to map the ports. Postgres host, localhost. I was saying localhost there. Wait, this one. Running jobs directly on a runner machine. So services, Postgres. Same link you found it. So it maps the port here, but it doesn't say Postgres for the host. It just passes in localhost. Huh. I just bought an app from DEI. It's the Lurkinator. What? What are you talking about? Kind of random. I don't know what DEI is. I don't know what the Lurkinator is. Alright, test failed. Probably the same error message, right? Resource temporarily unavailable. Well, I'm willing to give it one more try here, Calvin, with the localhost. What is the Lurkinator? Cartoon reference. Oh, man. Which cartoon? I don't know what DEI or DEL is. Looks like DEI. It's all caps. Phineas and Ferb. I never watched Phineas and Ferb. Never watched it. Trying localhost because why not? OMG, you'll enjoy it with the kids. I don't know about that. I don't know. Maybe I would enjoy it. Maybe that's part. I could grant you that. But my kids, I don't know. They're really more into YouTubers than they are actual cartoon shows. I'll fire up Adventure Time every once in a while. But, you know, a little Adventure Time goes a long way. So I can't watch a lot of it. It was a pretty good kids show. Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated. All of his inventions end with inator. My child only cares about watching YouTube now. Yeah, pretty much same here. My son will watch like baseball YouTube and like Fuzzy, and he'll watch like some of those Fortnite and Minecraft players, which I find most of them. I can't remember his name. He's a big well, Jelly, I think, is one. He likes Jelly and some of Jelly's friends. There's another guy who's really obnoxious that plays Fortnite. Just incredibly obnoxious. I can't stand him. But Matthew likes watching him. My daughter likes Funny, who plays a lot of Roblox and Minecraft and stuff. Stampy. I've never heard of Stampy before. Surprised my daughter with a reference. Do you even know where that came from, Dad? Yup. Yeah, my kids use references all the time that they have no idea what they mean or what they come from. I have to sort of back them up and be like, "Do you know what that means? You know what you're saying?" Another failed test. I would give anything for a different error message at this point. Burn it all down. Just a different error message would make me happy. Oh, hey, different error message. Bootstrapping for bucket tests as as failed. That sounds like a typo, an exception. Authentication failure exception was thrown. That's better. Animaniacs. That's going way, way back. I'd love me some Animaniacs. I do like a different error message. So what is the deal? Authentication fail. That's good. I can live with that. For bucket tests. I assume it's supposed to say has failed. That might be I don't know, a typo in the actual Couchbase library. Bootstrapping for bucket test has failed. Authentication failure exception. Maybe this is a problem with. Let's see. Look at Couchbase fake it again here. This creates username and password. Oh, it defaults to administrator and password. I don't even need those in there, technically speaking. But this is weird. Localhost work that would give me that error, but say authentication no good. But because it's saying bucket tests. Which I don't even use the bucket name tests until I get past this part right here. This is where I create the bucket name tests. I'm just going to change the name of the test just to see what happens. Change the test's name to Calvin Rules. But if there's an exception thrown, it's going to swallow it here. So it wouldn't be until here where it would say, hey, authentication failed. Unless it failed at creating the buckets. Oh boy. Yeah, all right. Well, I'm going to call it a day. I'm running out of time here. But I really appreciate everybody pitching in and helping me, especially Calvin, chiming in with some great stuff. I got other stuff I got to get to, but before we do that, let's keep the love going here and raid somebody. Who are we going to raid? Who are we going to raid? Who gets a raid? How to code well? Working on production Docker images for how to code well. Should we throw it over to Docker? Seen enough Docker maybe. What else we got? Cyber Barbie. Sushi driven development. That's cool. Raimu. Rewriting game tools in Rust. Any suggestions before I throw a raid? I'm leaning towards how to code well. Anybody else?
Has to exit. I installed something the other.
Spheros. Unity game dev. That's pretty cool.
Like you're being offered like a pretty interesting job.
Alright, we're going to how to code well. Unless someone else chimes in with another suggestion right now, I'm going to go how to code well. Going once. Going twice. Alright, kicking off the raid. For those of you who subscribe, you can copy and paste this little string here. When we go over and join How to Code Well, everybody be nice, ask good questions, say hello to How to Code Well. I will see you again maybe Tuesday morning. We'll see how it goes. There's something else going on Tuesday that might interfere with that in my work, but maybe Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to work on this in the meantime if I get a spare moment, see if I can figure this out. I feel like we're super close getting this to work. It's gone better than I expected. But anyway, that's it. Thank you very much for the follow, for the raid. Everybody, appreciate it. We'll see you next time. I hope you all have a good one. Laters.
Such a nice tool. Such a nice